Well, I had multiple people that start with the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How are you, Morning?
Pretty good, Greg. How are you?
I have no complaints.
Okay, got the meeting called to order, pledge of allegiance is done. Does someone want to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there any questions, concerns, additions to the agenda or anything? I read the minutes, seem fine with me. Looks like we have a fireworks display.
Yep, that everything seems to be in order,
Okay.
everything on that one.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We've got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Thank you, sir. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Any liquor license?
No, Katie's not here, and so I would say no. I'm not aware of anything.
None.
Katie talked to me the other day about the temporary liquor license.
I don't think it's gotten,
Has it gone? Okay.
Good. Any public comment?
Hi, I'm Lucy Wilson, and I just have a couple of comments. Last week when I attended the supervisors meeting and the discussion about the EMS committee or council, I'm not sure the proper name for that, but there was some dialogue that came from the taxpayers. Mr. Mayberry, and you chose to stop that comment, but yet we say here public comments related to specific agenda items will be heard at the time those are addressed. So I don't know if that's not appropriate.
No.
And
Public
that was-
comment, we allow public comment during public comment, but when we have a motion on the floor, the public is not involved in that. If you have a public comment, you want to speak about something, please do. We'll listen to you all day long. But while we're in the middle of a motion in an action item, the public is not involved in that. That is the board.
Okay, so how does one navigate the comments related to specific agenda items will be heard at the time those items are addressed? Is there a timing in which?
Yes, the agenda is posted, so if you have any questions for anything that we have on the agenda coming up, please speak. You will listen.
Oh,
to you
just
now.
now, but not heard at the time these are
Correctly.
addressed.
Correct.
So so my application of that was incorrect in thinking
Yeah.
that as you get to that agenda item,
Yeah,
that.
if we allow the public to get involved in every action item, while we welcome your comments, it's during public comment, not during our action
Okay,
items.
okay, thank you, that's helpful.
No, you're welcome.
And then, go ahead,
Go
son.
ahead. Sorry.
No, I just had a couple other questions if you didn't want to.
If you remember, Mr. Johnson got up and spoke about the EMS ahead of time, like we're doing this now. And then when it come time for the EMS, it was done with just the board and things. So that's a prime example of what we're asking for.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. That my confusion was just, since this references at the time those items are addressed, I was applying that, I guess, too literally. So that's why I just wanted some clarification. So thank you. That's very helpful.
We will take your comments into consideration during our action item, during our
Yeah,
discussion.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Perfect.
That's very helpful. Then under item number 13, it looks like today there's going to be consideration and formal action for a couple policies. Will these policies, if formal action is taken and approved, be made available to the public? There weren't any copies over here, so I just didn't know how.
Absolutely.
You
If
know.
there's anything that you want that's discussed during.
So
the
just
meeting,
request
yeah.
afterwards. Okay, great.
Yep, we will
Great,
get
thank
you
you.
anything you need.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Thanks for that clarification.
You're welcome. If I had something last week, I forgot, so I don't have anything to comment on today. 12 other things going on.
I had lunch with Mark Norman, Economic Development, as well as John Larson last week at Toby Jack's on Thursday. Got to have some pretty good fish tacos and pretty good shrimp tacos and able to hammer some things out. I look forward to meeting with them in the future to discuss kind of my plan moving forward and look forward to their help along that process. And then yesterday I was down in Fremont County for the entirety of the day, starting from 8 o'clock up until about 5, moving items from the former Fremont County Public Health Office out of the Grace Hospital in Hamburg up to the Veterans Affairs Office in Sydney on the square. Now that the partnership with Mills County and Fremont County is underway, the Public Health Office will be situated in Sydney. It's a very nice building. It's going to be a lot of collaboration with Veterans Affairs, so I'm looking forward to it. That's all I have.
One thing I had last week was a meeting with the Veterans Affairs. We discussed, moving, and hot dog days will be July 24th, Thursday, be held at the Glenwood Lake Park.
What time, Richard?
4 to, I think it's 2 hours, 4 to 6, I believe. I'll have to look that up, Lonnie.
Good. Mr. Jacob, you are up.
All right. Only thing for formal action is to sign the 2025 annual pavement markings countywide. This year we're doing just center line and symbols and legends, so turn arrows, railroad crossing symbols, things of that nature. And then some miscellaneous like the rejuvenation spray. We'll do the edge line on that since that will be covered in. And then we'll take out some of the roadways that are going to be redone. So for construction, H12.
Sure.
I'll make a motion that we approve the signing of the 2025 annual pavement marking cover sheet.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the sign the annual pavement markings cover sheet for 2025. Any discussion? You got a cost on this or anything, or do you know yet, or is that up for bid?
It won't be out for bid, but it will go to our contractor that we use every year. And so once he gets us the prices, I'll bring that back.
Okay.
We would expect it kind of flip flops because we do center line, then we do everything in the center line. So this year probably gonna be in the 40,000 range.
Sure.
Whereas once everything is closer to.
Sure. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Seventeenth. You are. All right, the next item on the agenda is general discussion.
All right, couple things. First, the rejuvenation spray. So we're gonna postpone it. They're here in the yard, ready to go. But with the uncertainty of the weather today, they're gonna hold off. So we'll postpone that. H12 is today is the letting, but it's at 10 a.m. So I checked right before. There's nothing to report on that. But
Okay.
next week we'll have hopefully a contractor that we will want to award it to. So we'll know total cost and we'll know total project length. Last thing, kind of a big thing, I did meet with Matt Cox, the Council Bluffs city engineer. So we wanted to start those conversations with making agreements for the annexation. Our understanding is the annexation passed in Des Moines, but then there's a 30-day appeal period. So that should be ending here for the end of the month, first part of July. And so we want to get an agreement in place as soon as we can. So I wanted to ask you guys if there was any, hardline things that you guys need or want. I'm meeting with my management team, the foreman and everything, this afternoon, so we can discuss too, and then we will again in a couple weeks. My big thing, the big thing is Bungie. And one thing we did talk about is we're both on the same page that whatever agreement we come to, it has to be flexible and probably short term. Because an agreement right now for Bungie is gonna look a lot different than as projects will. And so I don't wanna get us into an agreement. Now we're taking care of the road and they're taking care of snow and ice. But then when all that traffic in the road is falling apart, they're saying, well, we'll just do the snow and get the rest. So I don't want that. I want it to be flexible where we could change, but, the thing is, we obviously want them to take all of Bungie. They want us to take all of Bungie, and we're gonna have to find some sort of middle ground. So yeah, I just kind of get your guys' opinion on that. If you have any right now, come up with any, reach out to me. So I'll talk with my team and then start those keep those conversations going.
The snow removal and repairs will be my biggest concern.
Yeah, because snow removal, I think, is gonna be a big expectation of people in that area, especially if there's projects that develop. But then also, if projects develop, they increase traffic, we're gonna see a lot more potholing and patches needed.
Well, we've got county and county on each side with a city in the middle. I mean, our guys are gonna be going by it, so I just don't wanna see us lift our plows up because it's a city and then drop them back down. It'd be nice.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. I
It's,
mean, when they're coming by, hit it, and we're going by, hit it. If it gets hit twice in an hour, so be it, but
I agree with that. Some of it's just
Work
the
together on
timing,
it.
because if the storm hits at 7 AM, no problem, we'll be there before the storm gets, or right as it's hitting. The storm comes at 1 in the morning, well, then it's gonna sit until 5 or 6 till we get there, so that's where Council Bluffs could already be out there, since they would be
sure,
retreating and 24/7.
listen to how it works out.
My big thing is, the whole ordeal with the annexation was that we wanted them to own to the center line so that they're forced to make up some sort of agreement with us. They own half the road, in my opinion. When repairs come in the future, I would say repairs and improvements as well, whether it's widening or, lights or anything of that nature. It's a 50-50 cost share. We're not paying any more than 50%. We own a part of the road. They own a part of the road. They have to pay for it too. That's my view.
Point two.
Only thing I've had people calling, or people I've run into is, well, how are you gonna work with Pot County? I says, Pot County has nothing to do with this. I said, if you read anything, I says it's an annexation by the city of Council Bluffs.
Yeah, they could be involved on 192nd Street, because it's our road, but Pot County maintains it, but now it'll be a city road. So that where it's kind of a three-way thing going there.
Well, a couple supervisors from up there says, boy, about time that's gonna get paved.
Yeah, that's their hopes.
I won't tell you my comment back to
Give them
him, but,
give them the city's number.
Yeah,
yes, no.
What else you got, buddy?
that's pretty much it. We're hauling quite a bit of millings over to H12, getting ready to tear that out. Contractors, usually we'll get you on the list when we can, but right now they're chopping up a bit. Hey, can we come next week? I'm like, maybe, but usually you guys give a little more notice, so we're hauling a bunch of millings over there. The rest of this week, to see how much we can get.
Good.
Uh,
Alrighty.
People commented on mowing, glad to see that they were out doing that. And also people called, well, what are you gonna do about all that white weed down in the ditch? I says, it'll stay there. Well, that's your problem. I says, it'll stay there. I said, we don't mow from fence row to
Most
fence
of our
row.
roads are by easements, so they have the right to go in and mow all they want.
Agreement, as long as they keep the weeds out and it's safe, they can plant natives and flowers.
Good, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Benz. Approval to purchase phone equipment and hosted phone service.
I've been ready for a while, back and forth with more networks. And get an in place that would be a suitable replacement for what we currently have, which is an on-premise Mitel system. So we've got an agreement with them, which would be a
Thanks, Jake.
3-year agreement. Upfront cost to purchase the actual phones for each employee. The upfront costs are $16,831.85 for approximately 100 phones across the county. And then our monthly costs would be $2,383.65. And that's basically replacing our current phone bill plus the cost of the actual phone system. So as comparison, our current system is end of life and needs to be replaced. The bids to replace the current on-premise system was $49,000, which is an upfront cost. There is no assumption. There's not a monthly cost of the system that we own, but we still have annual maintenance fees to the vendor of about $6,000. Plus, we would still have an actual phone service that we have to get through Western Iowa Networks, which we currently pay about $1,200 a month for that. So, reducing all those recurring costs and the phone bill and everything will be directly to the China Network. So we got own any equipment other than the phone itself. I think it's a good system. I would like to get approval moving forward. Yes, report.
Good. I think guys should be letting buy some phones.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase phone equipment and host phone service. Sounds like it's gonna be a little bit cheaper anyway.
Yeah, less equipment for us to manage and they're taking care of everything.
Second motion.
Got a motion and a second to approve the purchase of phone equipment and hosted phone service through Western Iowa Networks, correct?
Yep.
For the fee of $16,831.85 for approximately 100 phones and $2,300 roughly monthly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Approval to sign solutions contract.
I have one more on the phone. We do have a one-time purchase of $1,800, which is not through Western Iowa Networks, but through a company called Zetron, which is
Zetron?
Zetron.
Zetron.
Zetron, which is the 911 system vendor. So that's our integration from Western Iowa Networks to Zetron. We have one-time purchase there to have that, help us set that up so that the dispatchers can transfer calls back and forth. Phone system like they do now. That's an $1,800 quote from Zetron.
Is that a month or just?
Just one time.
Just one time?
One-time setup fee, yep.
Make a motion to approve an $1,800 payment to Zetron for setup.
Second,
We've got a motion and a second to approve a one-time solutions contract to Zetron with a V or Z?
Z.
V.
Not
Zetron.
It's not solutions.
No, this is part of the phone thing still.
It's part of the phone thing. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
I,
Aye. There. Okay.
I don't think I do.
Something more to sign? Yeah, please.
Yeah, so this is our annual agreement, Solutions Inc., which is our vendor for real estate and financial system. Got some back and forth with them. On our, on that agreement, there were some issues initially, still are some issues. They fixed some and they're not willing to negotiate on others, so. I mean, but move forward with this year's agreement, and we are looking at other options for the future. It's just a lengthy process to switch vendors, so we are working on that with department heads and elected officials to see if we can get an agreement about another option here.
It's too bad.
It is too bad that they got bought out and they're just, they've taken a different approach apparently to their customers. They're really focused on their bottom line and not so much on their service anymore.
Okay. Is it from May 13th?
Yeah, the price was, so there's two sheets. Let's see. We had three different agreements, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Phone 24th.
Just want to make sure I get the exact price rate.
So July 24th, Richard.
I'll have to check the time on that line.
That's fine.
Steve's.
Steve. Yeah,
Jackson.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of Microsoft Authenticator.
You don't like it?
No. Try to get on my computer, then my phone's dead or who knows where it is. Can't even send an email.
Keep it safe. Microsoft's doing their part. So the bottom line for this year is $49,970.73. That is a 7% increase over last year.
What was it?
49.
7% increase and 20% less service.
Yeah, if maybe more than 20% less.
Not very good math.
49,977. This one is paid out of 99, I think, or 99. And except for the assessor pays it.
Or the wrong business list.
Assessor's work is 64, 68, 23.
You have to sit back and take it. Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, Snyder's not on that, okay.
64, 68, 23 for the assessor's part. Everything else gets paid out of. So this is a 1-year agreement.
49,970 plus the 64, 68?
Nope, that's included
Okay,
in the,
okay,
I don't know if
No,
we
that's
needed
fine.
that part broken out.
Well,
No, as long as she's clear on it, that's,
49,970, 73.
Sure.
Paid commissions, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the solutions contract for a total cost of $49,970.73.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the solutions contract for $49,970.73. Any discussion? We're just gonna do this for a year.
Yep,
Yep.
1 year.
Any other? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. I'll sign that whenever you get it, Patrick. Not a
Okay.
big deal.
Yep, thank you.
There's a 7% increase.
Which is the second year in a row with a 7% increase. They had some counties, they do multi-year agreements. They had some counties that were on a 3-year agreement, 3-year contract. So they didn't have an increase for those 3 years. When they came up with renewal, they bumped them up 21%. So there was no benefit to the 3-year agreement. There's some pretty hot counties. That's why we're looking at.
Of course, we can do that too.
Oh,
Show that over here just in case.
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Travis, you're up.
Morning, everyone. Morning.
Lumen Serve quote on Hutchings Tower light systems.
Yeah. I've got some pronouns here. So, we have had the tower light go out on Hutchins. It's been on NOTAM for a couple months now. They've been trying to look for parts. It sounds like Lumen Serve, who currently does serve, all of our tower lights here in the county. They're making the recommendation. Well, one, they stated that it's a TWR Orga, and that company has been bought out and acquired, and they're saying that parts are nearly impossible to get. And if you were on that system in and of itself, if you were to go through them, they want you to now buy their Lone Star system, which is an entirely new one. So Lumen Serve is making the recommendation, that we upgrade our contract with them. They'll come out and put a new light system on entirely. We're currently this says $1,031 a month, but we really just do that one time a year, and that's currently coming out of lost funds. That was kind of what was decided a handful of years ago, and that is $12,372. Yeah, if we go with the new system, there at Hutchings, that'll increase us to $1,373 a month, which again, we pay one time a year, and that comes to $16,476. So it's an increase right around $4,100 a
is
year.
that 16,000?
$476. Again, currently that's coming out of loss. The Joint Service Board, when we were going through budget development, we programmed that $12,500 is just in the event, you know, of the lost funds, you know, work there next year,
Mhm.
to maybe take that over. But again, that's just the 12,500. So if it is approved, I think one, it needs it. But if it is approved, you know, maybe we could, you know, split costs where, you know, we share that increase of the 4,100,
I would like that.
whichever way, you know, it goes. And then maybe next year around, we just,
Throw it in the 911.
yeah, the joint service board
I
there.
agree.
But again, they'll bring it out, they'll install it, they'll climb the tower, they maintain it, and it's all, you know, on them at that point in time.
They come back if it goes out again, they'll come
Absolutely.
back and take care of it.
Absolutely. You know, that's currently what is taking place in Malvern, because we had to switch that one out. So the idea, the recommendation from Lumen Serve is that now we have the remaining parts and the associated equipment with Malvern. And then when we take down the Hutchins Tower light, we would have the parts and the associated equipment there. So in the event that Pease Road, you know, does go south on us, which more than likely it will now that we've had 2 tower light systems go, we will have hopefully the remaining pieces and parts from both towers to where we can repair that one at Pease. We wouldn't have to do this there. But again, it's a system, you know, it's no longer supported. They would much rather us go with their new system. And it's just that's $30,000 to $60,000 in there when you climb and bring fires out of the station. A lot. So we'll kind of keep all those parts. And in the event Pease goes south, we'll have hopefully piece and parts needed and they can climb and repair that.
With the joint service, board, we want to split it with us now.
The
The instead of 16,478 out of loss, can we go 82,39 out of loss and you guys pay the other half?
I don't
Fair
think that
enough.
would be an issue, Lonnie. I think because we have that $12,500 programmed.
You guys want to pay
next
12,500
year,
of it, we can just pay the difference.
when we were budgeting, that was discussed and, you know, understood, I believe, by the joint service board, you know, just because we didn't know where the
Sure.
lost ones were gonna be at. I think that's already been discussed. We were kind of under that thought process anyway. You know?
Good.
I don't,
That would be out of this year's budget.
this is
Would that be
billed,
paid before the 1st of July?
No,
no,
we already paid the Lumen Serve.
we already paid Lumen
Before.
Serve for this year. Again, I believe that invoice comes just before May.
Mhm.
Okay,
So that'll be May of next year
okay.
is when that one comes. And again, it'll come as that 16,476.
So they could pay up to 12.
I mean,
We have programmed right around $25,000 into our operational fund for electrical at the sites, and then this is where also that was included. So I did look, this past year, we ran right around $9,500 for the year for power at all of our tower sites. We had programmed right around 12, just, you know, to be safe. So again, for 25, 26, we have 25,000 in there. And again, it's just kind of didn't know, hot, cold, all those kind of things. So
Yeah.
Is this gonna be, is that the fund that might be impacted by the new state law?
our operational fund, so no.
Okay, that's my only question.
Yep, 77,000 is our surcharge fund. That's the one that.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
okay, I'm looking for a motion.
The motion to save as much lost money as we can.
Well, that's what I'm debating. I'll make a motion that we pay 12,500 to the Luma Service quote on Hutchins Tower Light System, and the balance will be paid out of loss.
Sure. Works for me.
12,500 from us.
12,500 from Joint Service.
Joint service, yeah.
Joint service.
It'll be 4 for us. Ish.
And then again, I think for 26, 27 at that point, you know, we could really have that discussion with the 911 Joint Service Board on the operational side.
It'd be nice to
It'd be for fiscal year.
to keep it that way, so.
We got the figures in
Yep,
this.
so
in the motion.
12,500 from the Joint Service Board and the remainder from our lost fund for the year 25, 26.
Approximately $4,500.
I'll get the actual
Yeah.
dollars.
Second that.
Right. We got a motion and a second to approve the lumen serve quote on Hessing's tower light systems for the total sum of 16,478.00. Out of that, 12,500 will be paid for through the joint service board. Lost money would pay for the rest. Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Travis. Sign anything or are we good to go?
Could be.
Nope, it's not me.
Oh.
It is that one, I believe.
Have this as well in their packets.
Yeah. Yep.
If you want a copy, you can absolutely have one. You certainly can. Okay, so I made some copies here. I highlighted. It is two-sided, for. Move on to the next one. Yep. Okay, so, these are the two air conditioning units that serve the IT, room, within the PSAP. So everything back there, so all the servers. So these are two independent, air conditioning units that serve. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Keep the computers cool.
Yes, yeah, all of sir, everything, that kind of keeps the operating systems in there doing what they're supposed to be, so it's a tough job sometimes. Recently we had both go down. So Bob came out and serviced both of those, and then it's right in the neighborhood. You'll see $3,068.98, and then $4,700.38, $38.50. So, I was looking for a little bit of assistance on one, paying the bill now that we're towards the end of the fiscal year. For one, within the joint service boards, operational budget, something like that is just not something, that we have available funds for, that we kind of program. That's pretty impactful, there. So I think then this kind of brings upon the second question. Is this facility, is this part of the courthouse, much like, power, that kind of stuff? Is there any available funds, this year, moving forward? Do we, anything like this is just within facility kind of budget type of thing? The towers, not the facility.
I think the last time we did this, didn't Patrick handle part of that? Where we paid for it was, escapes me, but
So in your packets, there is the, budget for, the courthouse. And I've highlighted a couple of different line items that have some money and still,
It would be all right for this year. Could this be paid out of this year's budget or next year?
this year's.
I asked Steve to come down. I know, I spoke with him briefly before the meeting. He said that there's some bills that may need to be paid, and so do you have anything to add with this?
Well, the highlighted areas there on that budget are, two line items that we still have, potential projects to take out of those. Bob still has to take a look at our chiller, which falls under the building and air conditioning area there. And then that leaves us with the building. And as I told Jack, we never know what's gonna happen in this place. Just because of the age of it, it seems like those occurrences are happening more and more frequently. We've got an infrastructure line item that hasn't been really touched because it has to do with the ceiling for the main floor. So I've been holding off on doing anything with that until we find a start date for those guys. They're supposed to be here Thursday to let me know when that's gonna go. If for some reason we can't get that done this fiscal year, that might open up that line item. I talked to Amber about a check that we got from ICAP for the water damage to that building. So we would have to make a budget amendment because we've got that check sitting off on the side. So if that happens next year, we do have those monies available. But I can't answer to that line item until I talk to Ideal Construction Thursday to find out exactly when it is they're gonna be here to do it.
But would they
Okay.
have that work done by we only have one more accounts payable until the 24th.
So, yeah,
I don't think they're gonna be able to get it done by the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah.
That's why I talked to you about doing a budget
Right,
amendment
yeah.
on that money in there for next year.
I'm just wondering if we would have anything that big come in the next couple days.
Well, that's why I say that infrastructure one could be available if they tell me they can't get it done by the end of the year. Cause we've got, I believe it's $29,000
Yeah,
on
like
that.
27, yeah.
That could be available.
And together, those two bills are 780748.
Here's the other thing with that,
it's like, probably not even probably for this.
I know, and then we only have one more payable left.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine we would get anything that, if it was that big, we would probably have to be a lot more problems than thinking what to do with it.
and as far as Travis's question on whether it's facility or not, we've taken over the fire panel, which used to fall under EMA. We've taken over the generator, which used to fall under EMA. You know, if we're gonna take over something else, we need to know ahead of time to budget for it. So, you know,
I knew that the end of the fiscal year was coming, you know, and
Sure.
it did happen within this fiscal year. So I did tell Bob like, hey, we need these, you know, sooner than later, because the last thing that I want is to try and find $8,000 or so when we just started the next fiscal year, and none of this was like a program expense.
Yeah, we've got it in this year. Let's get it paid and
Which
get it.
line do you want me to take it out of? You want me to take it out of just the,
I would make the recommendation for 41,590, but that's just because anything within your 600 is like your capital expenditures, right? Anything in excess of 5,000, that's normally.
We want to wait for Steve to be able to talk to people on Thursday to see if the infrastructure.
but by the time you make that motion, then we'd already have accounts payable. This is next Tuesday. It should
I take
want,
it out of the infrastructure line item then.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way we're gonna get a bill or anything done.
No,
by Thursday or Friday's count this
I mean,
week.
if this was March, yeah, I'd say let's do some research on it, but it's this year.
And I guess we need to figure out where that kind of repair stuff is gonna fall going into next year.
Absolutely.
Because we can't be the
Well, and the.
golden
Already
parachute for
budgeted.
everybody.
We're
Yeah.
already set next year already, so we gotta live
Yeah.
within that anyway, so let's get our bills paid.
You wanna take it out of infrastructure then, that bottom
Yeah.
one?
I'll make a motion to pay Parrot Central Control Services for a total of
$7,807.48.
$7,807.48 from the infrastructure line item.
I'll second. So we're kind of in la la land here on who is in charge of them or who owns them.
Yeah.
Are they part of the, because they're attached to the building, or are they part of the?
Yeah, that's how we ended up with the generator. Falling under our deal. So we ended up with the fire. That was all under EMA with Larry and with Gabe. And Gabe just walked away from the generator and walked away from the fire panel. So the building took that over, I think, graciously enough. So I guess we need to figure out, if we're gonna take over everything.
Was that just something that was done, or was that something we formed?
Well, Carol, this is back with Carol, and I'm not throwing her under the bus or anything. We just needed to figure out a way how we were gonna take care of it,
Yeah,
because he wasn't doing anything with it. We had meetings with the generator people on making sure that thing ran at a certain time for 20 minutes a week. He walked away from that, didn't want anything to do with that. So we just took it over so it would get done, the stuff would get addressed. So that's how it kind of fell under the building, so. And I don't have a problem attaching everything to the building budget.
Know about it.
Go ahead.
we just need to know about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be good moving forward to
yeah,
figure out what exactly Travis has that may or may not.
right.
I think some of the things that I do is the annual 911 Joint Service Board report. So
Yeah.
that is kind of been a longstanding thing. The state of Iowa is looking what it costs to run 911. We are, hosted basically here. So we can kind of look at that, but within that, I normally try to collect power, any sort of utility kind of costs, all those things that I could provide,
If power goes out, that's gonna have to run 911 more so, or just as much as the courthouse, so.
Yeah, so it's just, things like that, Patrick with some of the phone stuff. Now, some of the phone stuff is, that I kind of cover. So it's just maybe getting a clear,
Yeah. We need to get together
Mhm.
before the budget season starts and have a sit down with us at least.
Sometime this fall.
Okay.
All right, in the meantime, we have a motion to pay a bill. Is there a second?
Yes,
Thank you, Steve.
Bless you. We got a motion and a second to approve the funding stream for Parrot Central Control Service invoice of 780748 out of the infrastructure line item. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You don't
Motion
budget
carries.
for anything like that, Travis?
What's that, sir?
You don't
Oh.
budget anything?
So
Something
we
like that.
do,
They did.
we do, and that's kind of the tough spot within the 911 Joint Service Board, right? Is that we used to only get surcharge money, only surcharge money. So then now it comes and that's $28,000, $33,000 a quarter kind of thing, right? Small, and large capital expenditures associated with the communication system are big, very big. So then when we started shifting the 2080 money to within the 911 Joint Service Board's operational fund, and we started looking at some of those things. And so yes and no, right? It's just when we do the budget, it really is what I'm finding is we should just green light almost all the funds associated on both, on the 77, the 78,000 fund, because anything that happens within communications, you might as well add a zero to whatever it is. If you thought it was gonna be 15,000, add a zero. Tower light systems are 40. It's just the costs associated with running it and maintaining it are so much. So I think that's tower systems, I get it, us, but the courthouse here, I think it's one of those things that's never been discussed on who's kind of responsible because is it compared to the same as, the treasurer's office? Is it, upstairs, the generator? Who's paying, those bills when we're just kind of living and breathing here? So if we have an air conditioning system go down, who's paying for that? The 911 Joint Service Board's operational funds, with what we have in there, we're doing our best to adequately, plan financially for the future with our upgrades at all the towers, which that's probably going to be between $700,000 and $800,000 a tower site. And then also portables and mobile radios and PSAP equipment, which we are going to be in the millions, associated with that, and that's going to come sooner than later. So my plan is with that is to try and be as strategically and financially responsible as possible. So when that time does come, I don't, hey, Board of Supervisors, I need $3 million, or I need 5. Because I would assume that the question is going to be asked is, you just wanted to bring that to our attention today. I would much rather have it be, hey, because of what we've done, we may only need
This is
400,000.
Yeah, just keep us involved. Go ahead.
All right, I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
see you
Travis.
tomorrow.
Has, you heard anything from Glenwood recently?
No. I think that that's another conversation that we're gonna have to have collectively. And there could be a more strategic way that we go about doing things that makes everybody happy, that doesn't fracture relationships, which are very important to maintain.
Yeah.
So, which again, have a conversation, and I think we can still do what we're doing now, just doing it a little bit differently.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
Thank you. Discussion, possible formal action, picking up furniture in Montgomery County Mental Health Office.
I,
We've got a new car. It'll fit in the back
Want me
of
to
the
chime in?
car. What?
please do, Greg.
I talked to Al yesterday. There's, I guess there's a couple different avenues. I'll come rather than talk so loud. Couple different considerations. Yes, I would allow us to house the stuff down there, but it's on a very short turnaround. So if we were able, because right now Al's having his Thursday evening auction, so what he would want to do is basically say, starting Friday, we get everything there, so it can be set up, sold, and it would be a week from Thursday's auction,
Just sell it.
and just sell it. There is a cost involved, not for the storage leading up to, however, there's a cost involved with the actual auction itself.
Sure.
I mentioned the 3 different cars, the 2 siege vehicles, and then our old Durango that was now surplus. He said 15% would be the standard fee for those items. Now, he said, when I mentioned the office equipment, he goes, and then I don't remember the exact word he said, but that's a tough sell.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, and it may be a deal where you haul it down here, it doesn't sell, and then you have to. That's the kind of
You
tough stuff.
basically give things like that away at a certain point.
Correct.
Along with
Now-
a lot of other stuff he's got down.
Right.
And
And that was at 30%. So 50% on the cars, 30% on the equipment. He said, be more than happy to do it. It's a very short turnaround. I right now have Sabrina checking to see, we have to do some legal side publications for the auction of the vehicles. And I'm gonna make sure we get covered on those before I commit to having the cars down there. Because if we haul just the furniture down there, that might turn into a super bust where we spend a lot of time moving from one place to another. Versus
$30.
posting it on like a Gov Deals or something like that, and then saying it's located, at the courthouse, contact this office to do a preview, and then just do an online thing where we don't, the cost is there, but quite frankly, we don't have to move it 3 times to get to the one that's sold. So that's an option. Al was more than welcome to do it, and he said, if we want, obviously to do this, it'd be a fairly quick turnaround. Not to say we couldn't put this off for a month. We're gonna do another Thursday night auction in the month. But it can be done. He's willing to do it. The storage side of it would not be an issue if we took it down, like he said, if he has an auction on Thursday, he does this Thursday, the following Friday, he'd want everything there so he can take pictures and get it advertised, and so it'll be online, it'll be in the papers, it'll be all over the place. So the advertising would be on him. That's part of that 15 to 30%. I don't know. I didn't get on the agenda because I didn't talk to him until yesterday.
No,
I
that's
don't know that we could probably do it in a week.
The cars?
I'm not final on those until I know for sure that we're legal.
I agree.
But even the coordination of getting all the equipment down to his place by Friday would be a challenge.
yeah,
So it might be something we put off for a month, if we can get him to do it on an auction. Anyway.
just got to get everything out of there by June 30th from Montgomery. Got to get things out of there.
How much
by
stuff is over there?
Seen pictures,
Yeah. No, I
What
haven't
if-
been over there yet.
decent amount.
I would figure an office full.
I think there's 3 desks and probably half a dozen different shaped file cabinets.
You get another trailer, I
Computers,
can get a trailer.
could be some,
Well, we just bought a trailer.
Right? Well,
some
I got one I pull
notebooks.
over too, so.
Yeah.
some notebooks, binders and things like that.
Yeah, the binder, nobody has paper. The attempt to move to paperless is there. And there's always some, but not near like what we used to. File cabinets, and we get, the adjustable shelving units, we push them out of the way and compact them, so space saver type stuff. And right now they're just a shelf of collecting stuff.
I did send out an email to all the department heads and folks really interested in them.
Has anybody replied?
I had 2 replies. One of the items that was wanted isn't actually ours. It was a standing desk, but it wasn't something that we purchased. It was going with them. And then another thing was a shelving unit, but it was too big. That's all I've got.
So no.
Got deals, you said?
Yeah, there's several different, I'll call to Bluffs, they do that down, they've got a guy, that's all he does. Is monitor that stuff and sell surplus, he does a great job of, procurement, so. I'll find out, I'll find out who they use and, that's something we can just take pictures, put it up there, because you can just take pictures in place, and then when it sells, they coordinate you to come pick it up. And it might be the best way, rather than trying to coordinate all the stuff down there. And my concern would be is that if we've got a lot of, 40 chairs that take 2 trailer trips, you get them down there and then they don't sell. And then we have to call somebody to come pick them up and haul them to the dump or something to that fact. So I'm sure somebody would probably put in a $5 bid.
I think all I need is to know how we're getting that stuff out of there by June 30th.
Yeah, it still needs to move. And then where's it go?
Right.
Right.
That's what we need to figure out.
I'd say, the items, he said, Steve was saying that he could go and pick it up last time I checked, Steve and Kevin. I remember that being said.
I didn't say that.
I felt like I remembered that being said, but I'll check with Steve after the meeting. Whoever picks it up, take it down to Al. Store it in there. Once we get approval for the cars.
And well, that's making the assumption we can make. Yeah.
Because theoretically, pick it up next week, pick it up whenever. How long will it let us be stored there?
Yeah, it sounds like we got
It would
two.
just be until the next auction.
Yeah, it sounds like we got 2 auctions coming up. One for our office equipment.
So
And
separate.
then, yeah, it'll just be.
Well, yeah, I do. If we could do it all together, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Then we can, it's one night, get it all taken care of. Just a question.
I'm just talking office equipment and cars.
Whether or not be able to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Al's not gonna want to store it down there.
No, no, no.
If we can't get it done get it to him by Friday to get it on next week's Thursday auction, he's not gonna want to sit down there for 2 months until it's auction. That would be the concern. And I hate to say that out loud without having Al on the phone or having him here,
Sure.
but he's not gonna want to store it long term.
Yeah.
It's gonna be for that.
He's got
reason.
other auctions coming in and out of there.
Yeah.
He's paying guys to move them and set them up.
Let's bring down to Al right now, and then after the next auction, then we could do gov sales, do something else, and whatever surplus or landfill, we can keep it in the basement of the annex building until it's gone.
I'd rather sell it instead of,
If we don't sell it,
yeah.
we gotta put it somewhere anyways, if we don't sell it, either landfill or we gotta put it somewhere. Till it does so. But my motion will be that the current stuff in the Montgomery County Mental Health Office goes to used auctioneering
ASAP.
as soon as possible.
I'll second that.
We have a motion in the second to have the furniture moved by Amber Farnan to our use auction. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Greg.
You bet.
MABA request for funding.
Oh, hold on, when we go back to that real quick, are you gonna talk to then Steve and Kevin about moving it then?
Talk to Steve and Kevin. I felt like somebody said it. Maybe it was just an idea out there.
A week
but I'll
ago,
have to ask.
A week ago, I talked to Steve. I said, we got some furniture and stuff to move from Red Oak to here. He says, well, Kevin was on vacation.
Yeah,
He says, when Kevin gets back, let me know what's going on.
okay,
That's where the conversation ended.
okay, well, we can talk.
So we're gonna go get it. We just don't know who's gonna get it yet. Good. Greg, if you get stuck, let me know.
I know, it's good. I'm
If
sorry.
you get stuck moving it in that trailer, let me know, and I can haul mine over, and let's make sure we get it.
Alright.
One way or another. MABA request for funding last week or 2 weeks ago?
Last week, 2,000 for the 5210 program, and then 500 for a membership, is what they were requesting. And do we have lost?
Well, we don't have a lot of it left, because you guys had committed extra out of the betterment funds to secondary roads to help them out with their budget next year. So we have about a little less than 7,000 left in the betterment for the entire year.
For
This fiscal
Fiscal
year or next year?
for next year. I didn't look at this year because I assumed you guys were talking about next year.
Do we want a motion on this before we start discussing, or how you want to do
Let me look, I gotta look at this year.
this?
I don't think we have it in this year's.
I'm going to make a motion that we deny this on the grounds that we haven't paid any or given anything to MABA for the last 2 years. And if we open this up, Malvern, what happens with Emerson, Henderson, Glenwood, we wouldn't have the funds to cover everybody probably in a sufficient manner. So that's the reason for me saying that I would deny the request.
Okay. We've got a motion on the table. Is there a second? I will second that. Any discussion? Let's have some discussion, guys.
I would be opposed to paying $500 for a membership. I'm not in favor of that, but I would be in favor of paying $2,000 for the 5210 program. It's just like anything else we use lost funds for. I would be in favor of that as a program for kids in the Malvern community and surrounding communities. I don't think the county needs to have a membership with them. But I think we could do 2,000 for the 5210 program for the specific program. That's how I feel.
Any other discussion with you, Richard? Anything to add?
No, I've stated what, how I feel. I mean, I realize that it might be for kids and things, but
Yeah.
our pockets are only so deep. We keep getting requests for things and sometimes, yes, they are for a good cause, but can we afford to do it? And I'm not just saying that about Malvern.
No,
There's other organizations sitting out there on the sidelines going, well, they give them $2,000. Let's go ask for 1,000. Let's go ask for 1,500,
I guess my biggest concern would be the lost fund balance, period, whether it's who it goes to or what it goes to, but, that's my biggest concern is we've spent a lot of it already. It's not even here yet. Any other discussion?
I guess I would just say, that 7,000 specifically for community betterment, that's what we have to use it for. There's no choice. It needs to be used for community betterment. I think this is a good avenue for community betterment. Because at some point, somebody's got to come in and we're going to give them money for community betterment. I think a program that's very popular in the Malvern area.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah.
I think it's a good way for community betterment.
I don't think anybody's denying that. I would still be open to, maybe entertaining it later on in the year once we see where our funds, balance is and what our status is on that, but,
I would agree with that, Lonnie.
Yeah.
Right now, when we're looking at a $7,000 balance, it would make, it
it's
cuts
not
it
gonna
down
go
to
very
5,
far.
so, no.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to deny the funding for $2,500 to MABA out of lost funds. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is discussion formal action regarding the building and zoning administrator position. Just as a note before we make a motion, I knew we advertised before, but I was not aware or didn't realize it was still as an offered position on our website, so that was my fault for overlooking that, but,
I think too, this was just an action item to decide how you guys will move forward, so that way we're all on the same page.
yeah, no, it's
And make a
good move, good
formal
idea.
motion on that, you know.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to keep the position advertised and open.
Bear with me here. We have a motion to keep the position open for advertisement, or as advertised. Do we have a second? Going once, twice. Motion fails for lack of a second.
I would make a motion that we leave our position as is with Matt, Building and Zoning Department, and that we take it off of our website, the advertising for a position, take it off our website at this time. We pretty well set the budget for next year. I realize we could probably roll funds and things and cover, but I think it would be more of an expense than what we are doing with Mr. Matt, so. Somewhere in there, there's a motion to remove the advertising of P and Z administrator and leave our position as it is.
We have a motion to leave the position as building and zoning administrator position as is and remove the advertisement. Is there a second? I will second that motion. We have a motion and a second to leave the position for building and zoning administrator position as is and remove the advertisement from our website. Is there any discussion?
I found it interesting. One of the first conferences I went to was for ISAC back in January. And Scott Bell from Pottawatomie County came up and said, "Jack, is Matt Wyatt working for Mills County?" I said, "Yes, he's working our planning and zoning office." And he brought up the point, how is that possible when he's our full-time employee and he's doing our planning and zoning in Pottawatomie County? I thought that was pretty interesting. At the time when the contract was written back in February of 2024 and it was signed and he was hired, Pottawatomie County was not made aware that he was going to be doing work for Mills County. Further, from what the consensus was at the time when we redid his contract for this upcoming year, was that we were going to keep the position open and advertised, and that if we had somebody in that would apply, that was qualified, and they got the job, then we'd have a contract termination of 30 days, and Matt would still be on for that 30 days. That's why that 30 days clause is there. We're paying him for 15 hours a week when he is supposed to be in Pottawatomie County. We're paying him $75,000 a year for 15 hours a week. And it has to be billed now with the negotiations in the contract. Our last planning and zoning director made $57,625. I understand there's differences in qualifications, but that's still 20,000 more than our last one. And correct me if I'm wrong, but she was full-time, correct?
Yes.
And now we're paying somebody for 15 hours a week for 75. And so this last weekend I called Pottawatomie County and I spoke to multiple supervisors, Susan Miller, Scott Bell, and another supervisor. And what was discussed was that they all believed that Matt was temporarily until we were able to get somebody on our own. they have some concerns about us having him down here when he's supposed to be their employee. And in addition to that, they said, we're neighbors. We want to be good neighbors with them. I wouldn't be too happy if they took one of our employees and we weren't a part of the contract process. I can understand why they're hesitant to this deal. But at the same time, they said, even if you get somebody, you can still call Matt Wyatt anytime and he will help whoever is in Mills County Planning and Zoning, because that is a part of his job. He will help people in Mills County. So we will still have a functioning Mills County Planning and Zoning. We're not paying 75, 15 hours a week. And we don't have another county's employee as our employee when they don't approve of
Well, this is
He's
a-
not an employee, he's a contractor.
it. He's as a contractor.
And this is something I can't understand. They've known this for 2 years. They've known it when we did it the first time, because I talked to Scott Belt about it. He says, he is? I said, yes. I says, we signed a contract with Matt. He goes, oh, that's kind of weird and funny. And that's where it was left. Okay, we did it again this year. They said, and the state even called me and they says, well, I said, we hire him as a contractor, not as,
An employee.
Yeah.
an employee. And they go, okay. And that's where it was left. So, and as far as the 75,000, I think that's what it would cost us just for salary alone to hire someone. And then you've got your health benefits, everything else that goes along with it. So I don't think we could hire or get a personnel less than $100,000 to run planning and zoning full time. So that's the reason I say leave it like it is till we see what falls out of the state coming up here in the next year.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to leave the building and zoning administrator position as is and remove the advertisement from our website. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. Amber, consideration formal action authorizing the auditor to cancel outstanding warrants.
This is a yearly process that I need approval to do. So I believe warrants that are over a year old, we have to cancel them. And if those persons come back or those companies come back, we can rewrite the check. But we do have to cancel warrants that are a year old. So asking for a motion to approve so we can authorize to get that done and move forward with our end of year processes.
Make a motion to authorize the auditor to cancel outstanding warrants.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the auditor to cancel all outstanding warrants. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Consideration of formal action adopting Iowa Association of Counties record retention policy.
Yep, so I would just like to adopt their retention policy and follow it as we continue to clean out some older information out of our, and then that way we can always refer back to it. And if I need it on record that that's how we plan to.
I would make a motion to retain the adopted Iowa Association of Counties retention policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the adopting of the Iowa Association of Counties record retention policy through the auditor. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Right.
Aye, motion carries. Adopting open records policy.
So I wrote up a open records policy and ran it through the county attorney's office. They said it looked good and was in accordance to chapter 21. So we just like to have that policy on records. That way, as we start to get open records requests, we can follow that so everybody's treated the same fair manner and that we're following the law. This would be all the records in our office except for the elections. We have a separate elections open records policy that has been previously approved.
Make a motion to adopt the open records policy for all county records besides elections.
Auditor records.
Auditor records.
A second, and this is, if I read part of this right, what you sent us is done through some code
Yep.
process in the,
Yeah, it follows
Goes
chapter
about-
21.
okay.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the open records policy through the auditor's office. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all is in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Consideration for formal action, authorize auditor to work with bonding attorney to move forward with whitetail TIF process.
So I've been working with Sandy Winton and also Amy Bjork with Dorsey and Whitney on the whitetail tip. I'm waiting for some information from Sandy, but I just want to make sure you guys are okay with this because once we start moving forward, there is a cost associated with setting up a tip. And some of those costs are reimbursable through the tip and the development agreement, but it will include some public hearings. So I want to make sure that you guys are all on board before I start racking up a bill with the line attorney.
This is the one where there's already a few houses built on.
Yes, yeah. So it'll freeze what's there, but the rest of it could be.
I think there's one house in there that won't be on the tip.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the auditor to work with bonding attorney to move forward with the whitetail gift process.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to authorize the auditor to work with the bonding attorney to move forward with the whitetail TIF process. Is there any discussion?
we don't have any right now, do we? Or
What?
do we?
We do.
TIF, yeah,
We
what
have
field?
Highway 29, which I am working with our other attorneys to see if we can pay that off and not
Yes.
tip this year. I think we're very close to doing that.
That was, yeah.
And then we have Ohana and also.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
And I do have a couple quick notes to
New
make.
business?
We had talked about, we're gonna change the way we stream our meetings. So I'm working with Patrick to get that set up to get started sooner or later, but along with that, we're also gonna write up a records, recording meeting policy. We've been looking at some other counties. So that way it's clear to everybody when we'll record, when we won't record, how that flows. And then, so with our new streaming service that we're gonna, or with Teams, all that will be laid out in the policy. So that way everybody knows what we're doing. And I'm also working on a meeting conduct policy that I haven't gotten very far on, but that also would address your question, Lucy, about how public comment is made. So
My thing with why it's good to have a meeting conduct policy is we have an individual who likes to come in and puts his name on the agenda and then comes to speak, but he doesn't say what he's speaking about. So when he comes in, we have no clue what he's talking about until he actually starts talking about it. I don't know if it's trying to ruse to try to surprise us or what it is, but that shouldn't happen, not on the agenda. So that's good.
I think that's all. I'll be in training
Good.
Thursday, Friday this week and Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:28.
Second,
We have a motion and a second to adjourn at 9:28. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Ladies and gentlemen, we're adjourned.
This weekend?
I do. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Well, I'll be honest with you. My life is not happy. I have my suit, yes.
There you are.
Your daughter's getting married.
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oldest?
Second.
Second. Okay.
Did you
Yeah.
guys sign the?
204.